Go live.
And to watch out because your monitor is on the stream.
Oh, yeah.
My what?
Your monitor. They can see your monitor, so now they can see the things. They can see what you're going to say ahead of
pornography.
What? They're going to see your notes. They're going to peel behind the man behind the curtain.
Even if it was clear, it was so illegible. It's so tiny. I don't have it in like giant words.
I remember last time you said that to me too, Richard.
Yeah.
I was just like, who cares? Like, they see what's on my screen. I'm not like announcing the results of like the Academy Awards, and everyone needs to like not know until the moment. It's pretty good. Okay. Here we're gonna go now. Already recording. Shit. I'm nervous.
Hey, you're listening to Real Movies with Real Men, the world's first and only movie talk show podcast, baby. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit to keep moving forward. No matter how many unnecessary, completely uninspired sequels, just keep moving forward. Fuck it. My name's Andy. With me as always. Please hit him as hard as you can the next time you see him. Muller.
I've been trying to get you to do some mall sense forever. Andy hates doing them, but I'm so glad. Accents. Some ACMALs.
And joining us today, also unnecessary and completely uninspired. Back again, Snitcher.
Thanks for having me.
Have I ever told you about what a Muller family reunion is like?
Well, I mean, I can imagine. I almost don't want you to tell me.
What do you think?
Have you?
I wasn't intending for this discussion to get so interesting so quickly.
Have you ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Do you remember the McPoyle family?
The Crow.
The McPoyle, they're like those weirdo guys that are always like super sweaty in like bathrobes, and they have like a whole huge family heritage of like just weird hillbillies.
I don't remember.
That's what I imagine is the McPoyle family from It's Always Sunny. I guess that doesn't mean
It's like a Muller.
They're like just a bunch of like real weirdos in the most awkward sense of
just a bunch of real greasy fellas, a bunch of greasy, oily stranglers.
Yeah.
So this is what it's like going to a Muller family reunion. So first of all, we pay $50 and we rent this hall out in Rosedale, which is basically the middle of nowhere in the country. And we've rented the hall for 50 years every Christmas to have our family gathering. So I've just ducked out of these for the last few years. Like I just kind of pop by for a half an hour because it's really weird and a lot of my family is quite bizarre. And I mean they're kind of cool too in a bizarre way.
Didn't you, when we recorded the episode with the stereos, didn't you have to like go to one after and there was so much like technical difficulties in that I think you just bailed completely?
Yeah. Basically, so this one I committed though immediately. I get there and one of my aunts says to me, "Hey, can you shout to everyone to shut the hell up because we're trying to get them to, we're trying to make announcements or do whatever for whatever." So then I yell at everyone immediately. Next aunt, "Hey, can you stop talking so loud? I'm sick here and I've got a headache." And
this is great.
And I'm like, okay, yeah.
This is the McPoyle family.
I'm just like, okay. No, don't okay. I'm actually sick here. There's some fucking earplugs or something. Like you're walking into the noisiest. A Muller family reunion. This is actually my mom's side.
I've never been so sick that I can't handle someone yelling. I guess if you have a raging headache,
you shouldn't go out if you're that sick.
If you're that, yeah.
You're getting other people sick.
This family reunion, this yearly one I have, this one in particular at the hall, it is louder than a stadium rock
a bunch
concert.
of malls trying to talk over each other.
Yeah, you've got 80 people in a hall meant for 30, all trying to talk over each other, and as it gets louder,
every single one of them has ADD.
Yeah, like really, and it's. Can you just keep it down here? And it's, well, where do you think you are? It just reminded us, like, man, this is what it was like when I participated in these events a lot more, and it was pretty wonderful time. So
before you get going,
man,
I wasn't on the last episode, as anyone a regular listener might have noticed, but
finally.
You really fucked up. You missed all these things, but you didn't refer to him, pointing over to my left here, as Snitchard.
Did you just call him Snitchard in your intro?
I believe I did.
Yeah.
Did you?
He
Did
So
you
now
say-
you have me all
I
fucked
doubt
up.
I was hoping that you would have forgotten because that
Rolls
would
off
have
my
That would
back
make me
now.
look terrible. I hope I did.
it just mulls off my back.
No Boomer, no Snitchard story. You let both Dave and Snitchard on in the same episode. But I got a good Snitchard story to make up for it here, I think. I just remembered this one the other day, and every now and then I'll be at work. Like, I have a pretty mindless job at times, so my mind just wanders. And this one just had me like laughing like an idiot to myself. I don't know if it's that great of a story, but it's just, again, I'm just in like the middle of my work, just laughing. There's no one else around me, probably just looking like a fucking mental patient. Do you remember the time that you tried to jump Tanya's car?
Kind of. Only kind of.
So I think we were at the 7-Eleven parking lot.
Yeah.
And much like my brother, like especially at the time, like I would always be trying to get you to do stupid stuff, like just say, "Oh, hey Richard, you should try and do this," like whether or not thinking you would actually try and do it. And I don't remember exactly what I like dared or requested. I was like, I bet you can't jump like the trunk of Tanya's car. It's like a sedan, like a typical little shitty trunk.
Okay,
I think in my mind I was expecting him to do like almost like a Dukes of Hazzard style,
Slide
across it. Like I don't remember exactly what my intention was by asking him to do it, because this isn't my car that I'm putting at risk on. This is someone else's car. So then of course you're just like, yeah, I can do that. I'll go at it. So again, in my mind, I think most people would be thinking of like the Dukes of Hazzard or whatever. Like it's not a huge like trunk. Like it's not like you could jump that high.
Didn't expect that you're a high jumper.
But it was the way you tried to jump. It wasn't like a Dukes of Hazzard. It wasn't like lifting both your knees up. It was like a
Hurdle?
It was like a Super Mario style with like his legs parted and his arms up.
So he's got 90-degree angles at both of his bottom legs, like a swastika.
And yeah, exactly, exactly like that.
Like he's doing a lunge on the floor where you lower one knee,
Yes.
and the other knee is at a full
Exactly.
90-degree
Yeah,
angle up. And the arms are doing the same thing with one arm behind and one arm in front.
Like
Did I make it?
the worst way to attempt such a jump.
That's such a weird way to jump.
It's such a
Why
weird
would you
way to
do that?
That's not, so his first leg actually clears it, but his knee, like his back leg, his knee did not clear it. He just rammed his knee so hard into the side of a car that it dented the side of the car. And you just tumbled right over the trunk. The funniest fucking it's just so dumbest like execution to try
Forgot
and do
all
that.
about that.
Yeah, that was a good one. So that's another example
That's,
of who we're dealing
A
with.
good Snitchard story. Did he
Pretty
tell
good.
on himself and now
Well,
have to pay for the damage?
I mean, she was there, so I imagine she should be equally as mad at me as Richard.
Yeah, I can't be held responsible for that.
So I had a fan write into the show. So a while back, that one of the boomer that I brought in was they wear these awful T-shirts.
Oh, Jesus,
with-
that was, yeah, I'm gonna, okay.
Maybe you should write into the show,
I was about to
Snitcher.
say, was it Snitcher
You
that wrote it?
can, yeah, you can snitch on all these baby boomers from wearing one. So he's been sending me a bunch of these over the last while.
Oh,
So I got some baby boomer. They're all forklift related baby boomer
weird.
T-shirts.
I was just thinking how they always wear T-shirts from places they've never been.
Oh yeah, Andy brought that in
That
already.
was one of the first. No, though I said places that they had been like to,
Yeah, sure. Or
to-
they'll get you that shirt. They're
Yeah.
like, hey, I went to this place, I got you this shirt.
Mexico.
I haven't been there.
We're just retreading the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Mexico and a picture of an iguana.
Yeah, I don't want that. I've never been there.
Wearing a sombrero.
Don't worry, I've already covered that one.
Okay,
Got it.
so I got some real fan content here. So here's some T-shirts for you. I hate being sexy, but I'm a forklift operator, so I can't help it.
You know what I think it is?
That is the baby boomer sound right
I
there.
had,
Oh.
like I had a few coworkers like that on their Facebook. They would post like stuff like this, and I think what it is it's just like some generic like T-shirt site that just does like whatever, a little search for where you've posted where you work or what you do or whatever, and they just copy and paste like whatever.
Yeah,
like don't mess
sure.
with me. I'm a hairdresser.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a forklift operator, and it's just like they think it's so unique. Like that's a thing. Like don't mess with me. I work at this place. I was about to say the place I work, but I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I think it's like, oh, it must be this thing. Like, oh, I didn't know that it was that our work was.
Yeah, I didn't know our
thing.
work was a meme in culture.
No, they're just taking data from your profile and copy and pasting it into a shirt that they can print on the go.
Well, this is some real in the wild boomer T-shirts that I've been sent here because Alex I think he sees a lot of this stuff. So
this wasn't like a Google image search. This was like
these look like some images he was sending me. You know,
wild boomer.
So one boomer in the wild appeared. So I got more. So this one was a really weird one. It's another forklift operator. These are all forklift operator shirts. But it had the Game of Thrones font to type it. So the O's have like 3 little vertical lines in the middle for some reason. So it says, forklift operator, that's what I do. I move stuff and know things.
Is that a joke?
Apparently. I mean, that's what that's why these T-shirts are so bad. That's why these boomers are such pieces of shit, because they're these non-joke jokes. It's like I posted on my Facebook about those demotivational posters I found from 10 years ago when I would be on Stumble Upon, a 17 or 15-year-old version. I don't even know how old I was at this time. And I just saved them in this.
So this was like 6 months ago?
Yeah. 10 years ago.
10 years ago. There's no way to know how old.
That's a good inversion of that. And it's like the jokes on these demotivational posters, they're not even jokes. Like it's like a picture of an X-ray of a foot in someone's butt.
Yeah, you shared the picture, and like I was looking at him, like thinking, like, was this a thing? Like I don't remember ever being like, oh, these are great. Like it is weird to think of you sitting there just like slapping your knee.
Yes, and I was slapping
like,
my
I don't
knee.
even remember these being like a thing.
Or it's like a picture of a guy dressed as an orc in Lord of the Rings with a little kid crying and looking at him.
That's what you posted.
And he's just terrified. And I thought, and this is hilarious. Like, I mean, so I guess a baby boomer is basically just a 15-year-old kid who's just discovered the internet. Maybe that's what it is. Is they're just discovering the internet,
because their understanding of technology and the internet didn't progress any further than that. Like, that's totally what it is. So the humor that goes along with it naturally didn't progress either.
That's totally bizarre. And then I posted.
This is a deep dive analysis we just did.
We
really
figured it out.
We really figured it out.
Figured out boomers, and then today the memes I post are N64 controllers full of pork and beans inside. That's how my humor is advanced quite a bit. No, I really want you to look at this, Richard. You gotta look at this Game of Thrones font, forklift operator.
That's what I do. I move stuff and I know things.
Yeah, but it's all just Game of Thrones style for no reason.
Because that's a Game of Thrones quote. Sorry, obviously.
I move stuff and I know things.
I
thought it was just random.
That's when Tyrion Lannister says, like, that's what I do. I drink and I know things.
On to the next forklift operator shirt. I try to be a nice person, but sometimes my mouth won't cooperate.
Yeah.
What the fuck is with old men wearing sassy T-shirts?
You know what it reminds me of?
What the fuck is wrong with you if you're wearing a sassy T-shirt? You're a fucking woman.
Do you remember? This might be a dated reference, but when I was in middle school, there was that clothing shop.
That was 6 months ago. Oh.
That's my bit. You stay away from that. When I was in middle school, that clothing shop, I don't even know if it's still there or a thing, Bootlegger.
Yeah.
Is that still a place?
I don't know if it's still a thing.
But they used to have like those like novelty, edgy teenager like shirts.
Like anything Spencer's would have, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be like, don't mess with me. I'm 13 and blonde or something. Something stupid.
Don't mess with me.
Or they would have like this. This was like way before emojis were a thing, but there was always like the sweatshirts that had like a smiley, like a flaming smiley face on it.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what these shirts remind me of. These are those shirts, but for boomers.
Yeah. Forklift operator. Why do they always start with forklift operator? I guess you're right. Yeah, they just put in whatever. Superstore shipping and packaging. My sense of humor may hurt your feelings or offend you. I suggest you buckle up, Buttercup. I change for no one.
They totally see the shirt online and think like, oh, cool, it's a thing. Like, I'm part of this thing. It's like, no, this company is just
I have meaning in my life.
Taking the data and then printing like on the fly. That's all it is.
I was able to make I think in that episode I made a real good connection between the middle-aged wine women who just love wine and talk about drinking wine all the time. Like it's very similar to that baby boomer humor. We've got a T-shirt that says "Hallow Wine" on it with a spooky font, and then we have "It's wine o'clock," and here's your middle-aged woman starter pack. So my diet plan: make all my friends cupcakes. The fatter they get, the thinner I look. Oh. Or as soon as you find the 4-leaf clover, share it for good luck, so that everyone gets a 4-leaf clover. Take a picture and share it.
It's hard to even hear you regurgitate this.
Well, you
It's so
gotta be careful with how many of these you read.
Yeah, when a woman says what, it's not because she didn't hear you. She's giving you a chance to change what you said.
That's not so bad.
You idiot man. What an idiot
man.
God, yeah, middle-aged women are the new baby boomers, man.
No,
So-
they're not as bad.
Thank you, Alex.
It's just a result of what happens of being like in my 30s, like I just stayed at home raising the kids. Now the kids are gone, so I just drink wine and make jokes about it. I guess.
Oh,
I'm an alcoholic and it's funny.
Yeah, I guess it's like, is that what it is? Is it just a way to feel better about being
Being an
like,
alcoholic?
Like it's a way to make your bad habit
Yeah.
seem.
I think.
Yep.
I think it's part of like an empty nest syndrome sort of thing. I think it's something that comes along with that.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
really
you
sorry.
don't have an empty nest at 35.
No, I'm saying after 35. You're saying middle age. 35 isn't middle age.
Isn't like 45? Oh, right.
Yeah, it's a bit older than that.
Okay. Anyways, so thanks, Alex, for all those in the wild boomer and middle-aged women
Yeah,
T-shirts.
thanks.
Thank
really,
you.
really big
Thanks,
fan of that.
asshole.
I'm glad
Yeah, you really made this show a lot better. So I have an important announcement to make.
Uh-oh.
I'm officially announcing my retirement from inflammatory social media issues.
I don't believe this.
Gender pronouns.
Is this going to be like a Rocky retirement for back the next movie? The retirement.
Gillette ads.
Uh-huh.
What other controversies have we seen recently? Well, there's a bunch. Nike ads, all the corporate ads.
Sure.
They've all become too commercialized. All these inflammatory social media
You're
issues.
sticking to grassroots
Yeah,
issues now.
Yes, this has just been packaged and fed to you. They're the most milquetoast.
This is oddly true. Like
Easy.
you're saying this with a snarky tone in your voice, but this could actually just be truthful.
Easy to digest. It's like once your parents are on board with these issues, they're dead.
You want to
It's-
stick to the issues that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I want to.
Real indie issues.
Yeah, I want to. Listen, I want
Rocks.
the issues.
Does anybody care?
Before these are all mainstream inflammatory issues now. I'm done with it. It was great when I was arguing with my peers and all of these city Vancouver people who are going to tell me that I better be more compassionate or else they're going to get Antifa to come and kill me. and I deserve it for using the wrong pronouns. By the way, that's never happened. Like you get into a conversation, they're like, call me this name. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to be a jerk.
That conversation never.
That doesn't happen.
The odds of running into a trans person, especially in our town, are so fucking low. You're never having that conversation.
Well, they're increasing every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not cool anymore, man. It's just a disruption. I see, like I saw this new Gillette ad thing, and my first thought, I didn't even have to temper myself with discipline.
Yeah.
My very first thought is, I just don't even want to post anything about this.
Yeah.
It's already
You're like 5 years behind where I was.
Yeah.
I remember getting.
Well, I am 5 years younger than you,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I just remember getting in a few of those style arguments and being like, I just gained nothing out of this. I just wasted my time. I went to bed annoyed, and then like you start to get engaged in the argument, and then you stop caring because it's just still going. You're like, oh fuck, but I got to keep going because this idiot is saying this dumb shit. Now you're stuck in this argument that you don't even care about anymore.
I've been disengaged for like a decade.
I've been disengaged before I was born.
I don't
Engaged.
completely disengage, but I only ever comment in a way where I'm just making fun of it.
Yeah.
I never actually like
Well,
I'm
it's
gonna
just good comedy.
argue with this
That's-
person.
Richard, I was never even engaged. Just before this episode, we tuned in live to Donald Trump's address of the nation. Probably one of the funniest things he's ever said so far. This is some fresh content. Literally a half an hour ago, we were watching this live on YouTube. By the way, weird that national emergency addresses to the nation are on YouTube now. I mean,
That's not that
it makes
Was it
sense,
an
but it is
emergency?
weird. Yeah,
Is
it
there
said
an
emergency
emergency?
broadcast.
What was the emergency?
I don't know. I
Didn't care.
I only I tuned in for literally 30
Didn't
seconds.
matter. Godzilla's attacking.
I tuned in for 30 seconds and he goes, people tell me that I didn't get a standing ovation, but that's because they were already standing.
That's so fucking. I don't care who you are, how much you love or hate Trump. That's the best goddamn response to that ever. He could not have answered that better. That's the kind of thing that would make me vote for him.
It doesn't
Those
make-
kind of responses.
It
That's gold.
It doesn't make any sense and it makes complete
Yes.
sense at the
Yeah.
same time. Anyways, yeah, so I'm done with this. I got no more I got
This
no
is a
more
lucky
time.
retirement.
No more patience for any of this. This is my retirement from social media issues. Once and for all, I'm out of the game. I got brain damage from doing this, and I can't take any
I
more.
signed over my state of
Yeah, my power of attorney.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of power attorney, why don't you guys sign over your power of attorney to Real Movies with Real Men, and then we'll sign your name onto our new petition. So we're flipping it up a little bit. Before we get to our movie, I got an ad read for
Wow.
for an important petition. So, America was built on a foundation of freedom from tyrannical governments, and it was built on the liberty of the individual. Nothing can better symbolize this than the Statue of Liberty. This 150-foot tall copper statue was designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi and given to America as a gift from the French. But the foundation of America is a
Why did they
dated...
do that?
It was a gift after World War II
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
well,
for
no,
liberating France.
it was in 1880. So
I'm just
I don't
making-
think, I don't
It
think
sounded
I was
good.
like,
I thought it was for liberating them.
no, it's because America stands on a foundation of liberty of the individual, and
No,
it symbolizes
I
that.
get that. I'm just, why was French be like, hey, I like your liberty. I'm going to give you this liberty.
Maybe we had better relations then. But the foundation of America is a dated patriarchal concept. Everyone's lives are getting better and better, and with better lives means we're a lot more sensitive, which means that the freedom of others is now a real annoyance. That's why you should sign
Yeah,
our
liberty. We don't need you.
We don't
anymore.
need. That's why you should sign the petition to erect a newer, taller Statue of Inclusion, standing at 1,000 feet tall, directly behind the Statue of Liberty.
Foot raised over the
Yeah.
statue.
Yeah, it's directly behind and on top over the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Inclusion. Now, when the Statue of Liberty was erected, it was said that the torch that the statue bears is a stream of light that shall pierce the darkness of ignorance and man's oppression until liberty enlightens the world. But the new Statue of Inclusion will not hold a torch, but a hammer and sickle to bring down the unfair patriarchy that's oppressed women and minorities for generations. And I have a sneak peek just for Real Movies, Real Men listeners. So with the design of the Statue of Inclusion, upon revealing it on the day of launch, the hammer is actually a functional robotic piece. So when we go to, you unveil the statue, right? Then this non-binary statue of inclusion will slam its hammer down into Lady Statue of Liberty's head, crushing the oppressive structure into dust. Get online, tell your friends on Jezebel.com. Next time you're hashtag MeTooing someone, be sure to include a plug for the new Statue of Inclusion. Go online, statueofinclusion.com/Real Movies Real Men. There's a $5 off coupon for you to sign the petition. You got to support this very important petition to sign.
Do you think that the Statue of Inclusion, like, it won't be, you said it's non-binary, so it's not like a man or woman. Do you think it's just a big worm because worms are all hermaphrodites?
It's a secret part of the plans that they haven't unveiled to us yet.
Okay. Well, that's my speculation, I guess.
Yeah, and instead of the French, a French nation designing it, it's actually going to be an executive official architect in the Chinese government designing this one. So, anyways, there we got our ad money. So why don't we get on to our most hated movie ever of the week?
I love making you do that.
It's been at least 10 episodes that I've been doing that.
I'm not old.
So our most hated movie ever this week is the Rocky franchise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd think. So we did for New Year's, which was a while ago. We had to delay this episode a bit because of my illness.
Too much semen in the throat.
Way
That's
too
what
much.
I've heard.
Perhaps not enough.
Did you guys hear about that guy who injected semen into his arm to cure his back pain?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did hear about
He was
this.
doing it for 18 months straight, every month, taking a syringe and injecting his own semen into his arm.
What made it? Did it say what made him think that would
No.
work? He just decided. All right, I'll go
He
for
just
it.
went for
He
it.
just thought it up. Maybe he read that.
He only got sick from, I believe it was the dirty needle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because you don't reuse the semen needle. God, no.
Well, he did.
Real gross.
Maybe he read that book that has the semen-based recipes on it.
Oh.
It's a cookbook.
Oh.
This sidetracked quickly.
And
I went from
anyway.
Rocky to immediately talking about semen-based recipes.
Well, apparently it's real healthy for you. So maybe
It's like caviar.
maybe he made the connection. It's like, oh, this cookbook, it's really healthy for you to eat semen.
Oh.
See, semen is not only nutritious, but it also has a wonderful texture and amazing cooking properties. Like fine wine and cheeses, the taste of semen is complex and dynamic.
Oh.
Semen is inexpensive to produce and is commonly available in many, if not most, homes and restaurants.
You're welcome, ladies.
So maybe he read this obviously satirical cookbook and he thought, oh man, semen was good for you. Maybe I'll just. Yeah. But why wouldn't he inject it into his back instead of his arms?
This is a great fucking question.
Yeah, like,
I read the article and I just came out with more questions.
If that's your logic, if the logic is, oh well, semen's good for you, so I might as
the
well.
semen will go where it's needed.
Yeah. Well,
they're used to it.
Yeah, you're right. It is more questions than answers that this story brings. Anyways,
So anyway, New Year's, we decided to do a Rocky marathon. We started a little bit late, so we didn't get through all of it that night. But
we only got through 4 of the 8 Rocky movies.
well, we only intended to do the Rocky movies. We didn't. I had no.
Rocky 1 through 5
Catching up watching Creed.
and Rocky 6, which is called Rocky Balboa, which
Yeah.
is a remake from 2005 or 6 or something.
You think we would learn after Saw's Given? We just keep diving back in.
This was terrible. This
Well,
experience.
I was about to say, this is the first time Snitchard joined us for one of our movie marathons.
Awful.
And it's funny, like the initial idea I had for Saw's Giving was just to torture Mueller. We talked about it in the Saw's Giving episode way back, the original Saw's Giving episode way back when. It was just to torture Mueller because I know he gets real fidgety when we would watch 2 movies in a row. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to make him watch 7 movies in a row.
Yeah, I've really defeated this because now that my
Yeah, you
phone-
defeated it on the first Saw's Giving. I was very impressed.
well, now that my phone addiction's gotten so bad, I literally don't even know what we're watching for half the marathons anymore because I'm just not paying attention.
But you, Snitchard, were so fidgety
Oh.
and squirmy. You were pacing behind the couch. Like, you basically had the reaction to it that I wanted out of Mueller when initially coming up with the idea for Saw's Giving.
It was so bad. It was the second movie. I couldn't handle it. I went and played with blocks.
Yeah, we were like,
Yes.
I think we were like 15 minutes into the second movie. So this is only like an hour, 45 minutes. That's insane. You're always telling me to watch these crappy superhero movies. And they're all like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
or House Bunny.
You gotta watch
Same
House
director
Bunny.
as the writer for Grown Ups too,
And grown-ups.
and Grown
Haven't seen
Ups.
Joe Dirt.
Great movie. He eats McDonald's off a turd. It's hilarious.
Amazing. Is this like a Hot Rod scenario where you really love that movie?
Hot Rod's actually a pretty good movie. No, Joe Dirt I don't think is actually a really good movie. I think Hot Rod is actually pretty funny. But I haven't seen it since high school, so
I've never even attempted to trust that recommendation.
Well, I don't think you're gonna like it. Just move on.
I liked it.
No. But yeah, I know it was great. We only ended up watching 4 of the Rocky movies, and then you were just so like you could not handle it, which makes me think that we have to force him into the next Saw's Giving.
Oh, definitely.
The real Saw's Giving, and the next one's going to be
I'll need
real.
We're gonna have to camp. We have to sleep over at your house
It's
so
going to
that
be
we can get up. We're gonna wake up at 7 a.m. To the TV, starting with Jason. I'm waking up, and Andy slams on with the THX thing, screaming through the stereo. That's your wake up call. Have breakfast
I can't wait.
after the second movie.
I don't know what happened to me.
Yeah, you just
I don't know if I might.
Well,
be
I got a
or-
phone addiction from doing these
Yeah,
two
I might just be on my
Saw's
phone.
Giving.
Even then, I don't know if I could stay on my phone.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm always so into him. I'm barely on my phone.
No, I don't think I was on
want to watch
social.
it.
Anyways, so to Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky goes the distance.
Yeah.
What a guy.
I kind of think rewatching Rocky this time around, I think I'd add it to the list of movies that I consider perfect movies.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's really fucking good.
it's hard to describe
I
the
have
first.
no issues with it whatsoever.
The first one's good.
Rocky's an easy movie to define. It's about a loser who wins.
Yeah, it's about a guy. It's not even that because he doesn't win.
No, but he wins.
He just
in-
wants to
on
prove
his
that
own.
he's not a loser.
So Rocky's this loser bum fellow. He's probably 30 years old at the point
Yep,
in the
around
movie.
30.
So he's had 10 or 12 years to try to make something of himself, and he's done nothing with his life. He's an enforcer for the mob, so he just goes and beats guys up. But he's not even good at that because he's kind of compassionate, so he doesn't beat up the guys who don't pay their bills.
Great movie.
And a very amateur boxer, just
Yeah.
living in some dump apartment.
Yeah, he's got a bad relationships with a bunch of people. I think at the beginning, he goes to the gym and they've cleared out his locker. They don't even give him a locker anymore because he's just such a loser.
Yeah.
And then
Because he's not worth investing in. He's such a loser.
And then somehow he lucks into a title match with the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Apollo
Apollo
Creed,
Creed.
who's Carl Weathers, who's from Predator, gets his arm shot off.
Dylan from Predator.
Dylan from Predator, you son of a bitch. Arrested Development played by himself. So Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, same guy. He basically somehow his heavyweight match with the next reigning champ gets screwed up.
He broke his hand or something, had to drop out of the fight, but they still had all this promoting around a big
They
big
paid all
main
this for
event.
marketing,
Yeah.
so they go, well, why don't we do this cool thing where we'll just get a loser to fight you, and it'll be
It's not even that. It's just giving an amateur boxer a shot.
right. It'll be like a
It-
Dancing with the Stars sort of thing.
It was like let's make this main event a bit embody the American dream. Someone really trying to make it.
An underdog story. Yeah.
They're just thinking for promotional value. So they pick Rocky mostly because of his name, his nickname, the Italian Stallion. So
it's a cool name.
yeah, to make for a good title card, and then Rocky actually tries to go for it. He takes it very seriously.
Yeah, everybody's
At first, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
I can't remember why.
Well, it's not
He
that
doesn't think
that
he
he
can do
doesn't
it.
want
He
to do it.
thinks
It's
he's
that
gonna
he doesn't
yeah.
think he's deserving it. It's well, why me? Because he knows he's just some loser.
Yeah.
yeah, he knows it. He's
Yeah.
very aware because the movie is, I think one of the first scenes in the movie is he pulls this picture of himself as a kid, probably 10 or 15 years old, and he's just staring longingly at it and you see that he's regretful that he's wasted the potential in his life. It's like, here's back to a time when the world was ahead of me and I could have done anything and I've done nothing, right? So pretty relatable premise.
Very relatable.
And even though he's a real weird dumb guy who says real weird things, he's a very relatable character.
He's also a
because
very
he's-
likable character.
Yeah.
after him, you'd be like, this is a guy I would hang out with. He seems,
Totally, he'd be a fun guy to be
Yeah.
around.
he seems fun. He's always chatting. He's got a couple turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's pretty fun.
He
He
feeds his
loves them.
turtles. He talks to his turtles.
Talks to the dogs,
I was very happy with your Stallone accent at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah,
That
I
was-
It's funny. I don't even know how well it turned out.
Yeah.
I'm wearing headphones, so I'm kind of hearing myself talk at the same time. So it
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
very weird to me.
Yeah, so everybody, the way people are talking to him is, okay, we'll go participate in this stupid fight, this huge fight, because what else are you going to do? Of course you're not going to win. Of course you're not going to get far
Yeah,
because you're just a loser amateur, and this guy's
And
a
Apollo
huge-
Creed's just saying it's like, yeah, I'll let it go 3 rounds and knock him out on the 4th. He's not like Apollo.
He's not
Creed,
even trained.
He's not even bothered training.
Apollo
It's
Creed
like,
is one of my favorite antagonists. He's so
He's great.
fucking good. It's
'cause
like he's a
also
good
not,
guy.
He's also not a villain.
No, he's an antagonist. Like he keeps the story going by being like the other guy.
Yeah.
But he's still a good guy.
Well, also, and if you know anything about like boxing, wrestling, or MMA, like there are people who just like they're most of them are good guys, but some of them will play.
Yeah,
what's
he's
called-
like hyping the
what's
ticket.
called a heel. They'll
Yeah.
play the bad guy just
Yeah.
to hype up a fight. So it's like, yeah, I'll be.
And there's like a part where he's doing it for Rocky.
Yeah, it's like Apollo Creed knows he knows that Rocky's the underdog and that people generally root for the underdog. So even when he comes out to the ring, like he's dressed in this obnoxious American flag robe.
He's dressed
and-
like Uncle Sam.
Yeah,
He's got like
yeah.
a wig on. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
So immediately you can just feel that the premise is good. You know, it's like you're like, yes, of course, yeah, this makes total sense. And so the plot thickens, and then Rocky says, "Well, actually, I don't want to just do a few rounds and get knocked out. I'm going to try to go all 15 rounds.
Go the distance.
I want to go the distance," and that's a quote.
Theme
That,
of Rocky.
if you've never seen Rocky, you might have at least heard that theme about
Yeah.
going.
And if
the
you've seen many Rockies, you know that it gets beat into the ground so hard.
distance.
But not in the first one. The first one, it's all very fluid.
So Rocky, you know, he does end up going the distance. He goes all 15 rounds, which no one expected that
Yeah.
he would. So there's no winner. But then there's a panel of judges who say, okay, well, Apollo Creed fought better, so he technically won. But in the public's eye, he didn't win because, you know, you're a big shot. You should have knocked this guy down in the
Yeah.
3rd or 4th round. There's no way that he should have made 15 rounds. That's totally unbelievable. And it is legitimately very touching.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
movie.
okay.
And I do not care about sports movies, and I don't give a shit about any
Yeah,
of
me
those
too.
things. Like, the team won. Who cares?
At the end, when the fight's over and there's a crowd of people around both Rocky and Apollo Creed, like everyone wants to congratulate Rocky and get a interview or whatever, and he's the classic like Adrian, he's just yelling out for Adrian. Then she makes him. He's like all beat up. His face is all swollen, and then she says like, "I love you." He's like, "I love you." It's a very touching movie. I consider that like a classic movie magic moment.
Right, yeah,
It's so good.
it's fantastic. It really embodies this, like you said, this idea of this American dream or whatever. You know, people always talk about the white picket fence and stuff, which I think kind of leads you away from the real thing, which is that you can make something of yourself if you can apply yourself a bit.
Yeah, and even if you fail, like you haven't necessarily failed at life.
Yeah,
Rocky
exactly.
doesn't succeed. He doesn't become the champion. He loses the match.
It's actually a key part of this movie that he doesn't win the match, but that he goes the distance.
It's genius
because it's not about being a winner or a loser. It's about you defining your success, and you can achieve it. And he has every possible handicap compared to the guy that he's fighting. He's way less experienced. He doesn't have
a good gym.
Yeah, he's training on the steps in front of the library with that with that famous Rocky scene of him. And he's doing all the training, which is awesome.
You know what's funny though that because that's the famous shot. It's him running up the stairs full tilt and
then he raises his fists.
But that shot just before in that same montage when it's just like a medium shot of him running along like the docks.
Oh, so good.
He keeps getting faster and faster. The movie, the
camera's rolling with him. So the camera's facing the ocean, and you can see this harbor. So he's running along, but he's running fast, man.
And the score is building up too. It's like
I can watch that again tonight.
God,
Let's rewatch Rocky 1 tonight.
It's so
our
good.
most hated movie ever, Rocky 1.
Yeah, rewatch.
Didn't they put that scene in Punch Out?
Sort of, basically. Only he in Punch Out they had his
Purple
trainer biking next to him, but basically, yeah. It's rewatching it this time just made me like I already considered it a great movie. It wasn't like a surprise, but it was like, wow, this movie is really fucking great.
The more that you have tried at things and been beaten down, the better this movie will be to watch.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really think it's worth talking about this idea of this American dream, because now the American dream is just a lie, and not everybody has the same opportunities. And it's like, yeah, that's what Rocky's about, though. It's like, it's not a movie about a guy who was also just as rich as Apollo Creed and had the best stuff. And he didn't beat Apollo Creed. Yeah. It's not like, oh, well, if you don't have the best stuff, you can still beat everybody. It's no, but you can go the distance. It's a great metaphorical
This is like the
language.
antithesis to our Fight Club episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think about, people complain about, you have lack of opportunities and all these different things. So I'm going to quickly describe something from my job, but it actually it ties into this quite a bit. So bear with me for just a second. So
make it quick.
I'll make it quick. So I have an assistant that I hired from the Philippines, and so before I hired her, she worked.
She's like 4 feet tall.
Yes. Yeah, I have no
Also
idea.
Danny.
I have no idea because I've never met her in person because I just hired her off the internet.
Okay.
Something literally anybody anywhere who has a cell phone can do.
Yeah.
Can go on the internet.
Yet you still managed to sexually harass.
Yes, and somehow.
But when she showed up to the office, she said,
You're from the Philippines.
Oh,
She's
you're
flown
sweet.
here from the Philippines.
Really
and
should have put that
trained
on there.
her life savings.
Really could have
with,
saved
like,
us some time by putting that on your resume, baby.
from this Philippines job board or whatnot. So before we hired her, it's like she worked 40 hours a week and then commuted 6 hours a day
Ugh.
to her job. So that's like a 70
Yeah, I'm
hour
spoiled.
a 70-hour work week for somebody who has, small children and whatnot. Like you just don't even have a life.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well now you work for us 30, maybe 40 hours a week and you make the same amount of money as your 70-hour work week
Cool.
that you did.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Good for her.
well, good thing that you had all these opportunities just given to you. It's like, no, I went on the internet and I just got a job, and there's lots of them. I know so many people who need, and this is just one example of things, but it's like the limitation for most people is in your brain what you think is even available to you.
Yeah.
Most
Sure.
people don't even
Most-
know the types of jobs that, especially in my field, because I do all this sort of tech stuff and, work from home, work from wherever. I tell people about my job sometimes, and they didn't even know that type of job could exist.
I still don't know what you do.
Yeah. Right. And
She just fucks around on Facebook. That's what I tell everyone, and they all believe me.
it's the best description that is better than my description. I manage advertising. It's like, yeah, you're just on
Goes to
Facebook.
these companies. Don't you go on Facebook? Let me. I'll deal with Facebook. And
Don't
just-
you worry
you're
about
just
Facebook.
arguing there about trans people through their account.
All right, that's $500 for this month's retainer. Thank you. But really, with this inequality issue is coming to a head as this biggest issue that it's ever been, and it's literally the smallest issue that it has ever been in all of history. The issue has never been smaller than it is now.
Yeah.
There's more opportunities available to anyone.
In Western countries.
You can get a
Yeah.
job. You can just go on your Gmail, change your name to a white person sounding name, and then get a job. And I'll never talk to you. And so I couldn't even be biased towards you, even if I wanted to be
Even
racist.
a massive racist like Mueller is having trouble hiring white people.
Yeah, it's God. So, and you know what happens though is, I hire a white person who's local here, and they do a terrible job, and they make tons of mistakes, and they're dissatisfied with their wage. I hire somebody from the Philippines. They're very grateful for the work. They communicate effectively. They respond to things that I say to them. I tell them, hey, this is how the system works. We have to do these 4 or 5 checks. They do the 4 or 5 checks every time. It's really simple stuff. And it's like, no, the reason that you're not getting ahead is because of racism. Oh, okay. Obviously I know that those issues exist to a degree, but certainly for the amount of outrage that we have now, it's never been better than it has been.
Yeah,
certainly.
the outrage is blown way out of.
Certainly, let's just keep getting things better than they are.
Yeah, let's keep going.
But to say, well, you know what? The American dream is a dead
it's
idea.
dead. Haven't you seen Rocky?
Haven't you seen?
That's got to be
It's
a
less
response
dead
from
than
all.
it's ever been from a purely material perspective.
Here's
We
how.
have a corrupt philosophy and an insane nihilism in our society. Basically, just because that life is so easy, we have too much time to think about things.
So here-
This is what Kierkegaard talks about when he talks about problems of modernity. But
Here's how I'm going to help you, because you're retiring from social media arguments. Anytime you feel like you're about to, you got your fingers on the keyboard and you're about to really go off or whatever, just instead of whatever you're about to type in, just type in, haven't you seen Rocky?
Haven't you seen
and
Rocky?
And then move on.
I'll just take
And then
my
fade into
my
the-
10 paragraphs and
Yeah.
I'll make one of those macros where that's a keyboard trigger to trigger the
Just-
text. Haven't you,
Haven't you
it
seen
deletes
Rocky?
all the text and says, haven't you seen Rocky? And automatically hits enter.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I got in like 10 arguments. I typed it all out.
Yeah.
I keep saying the same things because it keeps triggering this keyboard shortcut for haven't you seen Rocky?
And then it turns out that just ends up being more effective. They're like,
Yeah.
I did see Rocky, and that was be like, I think you're right.
And Rocky isn't even an impossible scenario from based on the premise that he's laid out.
Yeah, it's up there though. It's not
Yeah,
impossible,
they're
but like
they're not
a
hiring
champ would
somebody.
destroy an amateur boxer.
Right, the champ would win.
Yeah.
But could an amateur boxer
It's within the realm of
but could
possibility.
an amateur boxer who doesn't want to win, so he changes his strategy just to
Sure.
last
Yeah,
15
yeah.
rounds?
It's not
even that unlikely.
It's not a fantasy story.
because he's playing a different game than the guy he's fighting.
Yeah.
So he uses a different strategy and wins.
Yeah.
So next time you're going to complain about the patriarchy, take that effort and think about a new
Watch
strategy too.
Rocky.
I just think that people spend, like, most of the people who complain about these things have bad lives because they're not using their energy to improve their life.
Sure.
They're more consumed with being resentful towards
Yeah.
the system. And yes, the system is rigged against everyone in some way. There's all sorts of ways that but you know, it's going to take 100% of what you've got to make it. So if you've got 80% of that towards being resentful towards it and spending all your time arguing on the internet, yeah, you didn't put in the 100%, so you're going to lose.
When
I mean,
is-
you're just parodying the great intro I did for this episode.
Yeah.
Getting hit and keep moving forward and whatever.
Right,
But
right.
even like using the boxing analogy, because I was just saying, like, yeah, it's pretty unlikely that an amateur boxer would ever go 12 rounds with a champ like that. But like even using boxing as an analogy, like, you know, sometimes you get like a lucky punch in, and that totally happens with fighters. Like I don't watch any boxing, but I watch a little bit of MMA.
Well, it's less likely with boxing because you do enough fights, you just might die eventually. But in life, you can actually, you know, you have a lot of chances to
But
just keep putting in, and hopefully you get a
But my
lucky
point
punch
is,
each
like,
day.
even a less skilled fighter could get a lucky punch off, and if you knock him out, well, then you won. Like, so it's not outside of the round. It's not like completely like, no, you're just at the bottom and you'll always be there. Like, even because what you're going up against is too much or whatever. But even in those, like an Apollo Creed, Rocky Balboa scenario, it's like, well, it's possible you could get a lucky punch off.
Well, yeah,
So
and
even in that metaphor,
it's kind of a difficult thing too, because again, I know that there's two sides to all this stuff, but you might not make it to the top if you try, but you definitely won't make it to the top if you don't try. There's a good Tony Robbins, like,
Yeah,
motivational
Yeah, this is
speaker.
real- real sappy self-help.
It-
I
so-
thought you were all about the demotivational. part.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Haven't you seen Rocky 4?
Yeah, haven't you seen Rocky IV? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a great story because I think that most people who complain about this haven't tried to go the distance. They haven't given it a real effort.
What we need to do is we need to get a bum on the podcast.
Yeah.
Ask him a bunch of questions about why he's such a bum.
Well, it's probably because
And then fight him.
I've never seen Rocky.
yeah, it's because it's probably because his whole family died, including his kids, and he was driven insane, like most of the people who are on the
Severe
street
mental
who have
illness.
severe
Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
issues to some degree.
Bring him in.
You know, yes, I'm advocating that these homeless people who've had these horrible tragedies should just buckle up and try like Rocky. That's the advice that I'm giving right now. Anyway, so I can't wait till Sylvester Stallone gets Me Too'd from the Rocky franchise
How
here.
is he immune to this?
Yeah, how is it? So there's this great scene. So Rocky has a love interest, which is Adrian.
Adrian.
And, you know, you've
Shy,
heard
timid girl from the pet shop.
yeah, maybe, and she wears glasses. She might as well be a librarian with the way that she loves. She's a nerd, and she's very low self-esteem with a crappy family. She's got her brother Paulie who treats her like trash, and
Very, very, very introverted.
very introverted and very smart.
Yeah.
You know, and so Rocky goes out on his first date with her. He's always working out these.
That
weird
first date
pickup-
is weird.
It's very.
Paulie tells him that he can go out on a
Yeah,
date.
yeah.
She doesn't know it's coming.
Because Paulie's an asshole. I want to get back to Paulie way later.
Yeah.
How weird and bizarre of a character he is.
So Sylvester Stallone, Rocky takes out Adrian, and she's basically in her hair curlers at home. And he comes over and he goes, "Yeah, Paulie said I could take you on a date." And she's, I'm not ready to go on a. Oh, you're coming anyway. So eventually they get back to his apartment, and Adrian's like, and he's trying to put the moves on Adrian. And she goes, yeah, I ain't comfortable, Rocky. And he goes, well, take
That
off
was the worst Adrian impression.
take off those glasses and that hat. I'm gonna kiss you, but you don't gotta kiss me back.
People can definitely take that scene in the worst way, but I just view it as like the innocence of Rocky. Like his intentions are not.
They're not actually rapey intentions.
No, not at all.
He's. I think that he's trying to understand that she's a bit timid, and that she might not be. Because as the scene progresses, she definitely wants to bang Rocky. Like she clearly likes him, but she's.
I mean, as soon as they kiss.
She goes goes to town with him, and it's clear that she wants to be going to town. It's not like she's doing it reluctantly.
He opened up that pet shop into all hours of the night.
Man, great way to pull a good boomer term for petting.
Off the dome.
I bet you our younger viewers don't even know what petting means. Wow, that's a touching your boobs or your butt. That's your heavy.
Oh, wait.
Heavy petting is under the clothes is heavy
My
petting.
bad.
Man, I thought that must be from like that 70s show or something like that. Here, we're using terms like petting. That's a good one. Yeah, so it's clear that Adrian is more just uncomfortable with herself. Like she doesn't even really know how to go.
Like when I said like she's introverted to a fault. Like she's basically locked away living with her abusive brother, and kind of scared of the world.
She makes Thanksgiving dinner, and Paulie just goes.
Paulie's the biggest.
He just grabs the turkey out of the oven and just grabs it by a leg and chucks the turkey out the window.
Keeps a leg for himself.
And then eats the leg. I'll show you Thanksgiving dinner. That was her excuse for not being able to go out with Rocky. Well, it's Thanksgiving. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, so Sylvester Stallone, it's got to be one of the most rapey, non-rape scenes that I've ever seen.
He also gets with that kid that he tells to stop smoking.
Oh, right, in Rocky V.
Doesn't he get with her?
No, he gives her a job.
I tuned the fuck out.
in Rocky Balboa.
He doesn't get with her.
They're just friends?
Yeah.
They didn't make out?
I don't think that doesn't go anywhere.
Anyways,
They went at it.
We'll get there later. So.
And by that point, it would be like a 70-year-old kissing a 50-year-old. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
That's not a big deal at all.
Yeah, so the first Rocky's real good. I've never seen a movie like it. In the tone of it, just this weird protagonist. He just says weird stuff like, I gotta kiss you, but you don't gotta kiss me back.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird thing to say, and he constantly just says weird things. He talks to his turtles. He's just a weirdo, but he somehow embodies the American spirit. It's like because if Rocky was a really talented guy, it wouldn't be an impactful
Yeah, if he was
story.
super talented and smart. Like the idea is that he doesn't have much going for him. He's a fighter and not a big one. Not at the time, not a big famous one.
It's really this metaphor for perseverance. Yeah. It's like if you don't have much, you can persevere. You can take a beating, but if you step forward after each punch, you can still make something of yourself, which is a really good lesson because most, I know insanely talented people, friends that I've had growing up, and I see them now. They're insanely smart, way smarter than I am. They're very talented, doing fucking nothing with their lives because they have no sense of endurance, no sense of perseverance, no sense of commitment. Mm-hmm. So, of course, once you grow up, adult things require you to show up every fucking week.
Yeah.
Even this show, which I will probably never go anywhere. We're here at 57 episodes and that's 130 hours plus of content. And it's like, okay, well, you can show up. You can do something, and maybe just maybe you might make something of yourself, and that's what Rocky's about. It's vital that his character has nothing going on, and I'm sure that's an accident that Sylvester Stallone didn't plan out. I'm sure he was just writing about himself at the time because he was not a successful actor at the time when he wrote Rocky.
You speak very highly of this theme, and that you haven't really seen. It's unlike any other movie you've seen before at the time. But how would you like to see that exact same theme 5 times in a row with Rocky 2, 3, 4, 5?
Except for it's not the same
no,
theme.
It's not the same
theme. It is the same theme. I'll argue it's the exact same theme.
I would argue it's not the same theme because in every movie, because after Rocky 1, every other Rocky is an exact clone, other than maybe Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa is
tired.
Except for
even that one, Rocky Balboa, it's the same theme. He's going the distance. again.
Yeah, except for in
All
these
right.
other ones, he has a lot going for him because at the beginning of every movie, he's successful from his last movie.
Yeah.
So he has tons of money
Yeah, they
and all
don't-
this stuff. So Rocky 2, the movie is just him. He blows all his money on crap like gold watches,
Yeah.
and then he doesn't have any money, and he has to fight to get some
And he
more
also
money.
realizes he can't do anything else.
Yeah,
Because
because
he tries to do ads, he tries to do like a regular job. And
which again kind of undermines the theme a little bit
Yeah.
because it's like it's
the theme I'm talking about, it's not necessarily like the starting from the bottom aspect of the theme. It's just that in every single movie, Rocky has to go the distance.
Yeah.
Rocky 1, he goes to the distance and it's impactful. It's, like you said.
because he
really-
started from nothing and had nothing, and that
Yeah.
was relatable.
Yeah, it's the
It's
character.
very relatable. In the second one, he just fights Apollo Creed again. And it's,
The
he's
same
gotta
villain.
Go the distance again.
It already sounds worse.
In the third one, he's fighting like a up and coming acclaimed fighter, so he's got to go the distance again, and that fighter also trash talked Mick to death.
All right, his trainer dies because Mr. T trash talks him so bad he has a heart attack. That's actually pretty hilarious.
It's pretty damn funny. And then Rocky.
It's pretty
Rocky
hilarious
4,
that we said it that way.
Rocky 4, Ivan Drago is like a superhuman. He's got to go the
The
distance.
Russian.
He's got to go the distance for America.
Yes.
And then Rocky 5.
I don't even remember Rocky 5. I don't even have any notes for it.
He goes bankrupt. That one's a little weirder because he doesn't. He actually does retire from boxing, but then he just has that street fight at the end and beats.
No, because the premise of Rocky 5 is that somehow he signs over his
That's-
yeah, because everyone he does something to screw up his situation
Yeah.
in some way. I think so. Rocky 5, I think he has brain damage too. Like he starts
Yeah.
realizing, oh, he's got real bad brain damage. This is not very good. And then he somehow signs over his power of attorney.
Paulie signs over
Paul-
his power.
No.
Paulie signs over. Yes, he signs over his power of attorney to their lawyer or something, who just drains his bank account and steals all his money.
Yeah.
Because he has power of attorney, which is not really a function of power of attorney to just take all someone's money and put it into your
Well,
own
and
bank
also
account.
like to sign over power of attorney like that, even if you end up doing it or whatever, but you could can't you? I don't know a lot about this.
Well,
stuff, but
luckily, me and Richard
but you-
both have
you
experience
can-
with this in
but
our
my
jobs.
experience as someone who doesn't my understanding is like you could easily undo everything that was done because you could in this specific scenario where Rocky was out in Russia fighting and then he comes back and finds out he has brain damage, you could easily prove in that scenario that Rocky was not aware
Yeah.
of the signage
Well-
over, especially because Rocky didn't even sign it. Paulie did.
Right. One of the key functions of power of attorney
Yeah.
is that you have to be like they have to prove
Yeah.
that you've been fully informed
Yeah.
and that you are capable of understanding what you've been informed of. So power of attorney is just signing away some of your legal stuff. So you say, I'm going out of the country. I
If
need
this
someone to
happens,
take
yeah.
care of my affairs. So they're allowed to use my bank account or they're allowed to do this. And you sign over those rights to them. But it's not like they just get to do whatever they
Yeah,
want.
they legally have to be acting in your favor.
I'll just pop over to the notary next door and get a subject matter expert here. But yeah, it's like they can't just do it for themselves. So immediately that's a problem. Even if they had signed over power of attorney to Paulie, you wouldn't be able to. Paulie couldn't
So
sign
then
it.
further sign it
Yeah,
over.
because all the parties need to be present
Yeah.
for the next extension. Like you can't just be having
Yeah.
25 people just keep signing over power of attorney to the next person. All of a sudden, you've got 90 Africans who are Rocky Balboa and can act in his legal interest. Like just the weird.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like even as someone who doesn't know much about it, I know that it's just horseshit.
Not only does it make no
Complete
sense.
gibberish.
So the plot element of Rocky 5 is that Rocky has to lose everything again somehow, and it forces him into fighting, even though he's got brain damage, which is actually was a kind of a new thing that they were exploring. It's like, well, what if you're not even capable of going the distance and it's going to mess up your health or something? Okay,
But going the distance in
It's-
that one is weird also because it just ends up in him in like a street fight.
I don't even
Like
remember.
a street fight, he fights Tommy Gunn.
I don't even remember the character. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember the street fight. I remember how hilarious it was. But
It's so cheesy because it's a crowd of people cheering. It's just two guys just beating the hell out of each other on the streets to no repercussions whatsoever. Neither of them are arrested. Nothing happens.
so
The cops don't care.
I just remember this power of attorney element. It was like why didn't they just have Rocky bet all his money in like a horse race or something like he got, or like just
Taxes.
Yeah, he didn't pay his
Taxes
taxes.
is
He
the
gets
easiest
Wesley
one.
Snipes.
It's the easiest one because it's so common for when they get rich that they forget to put money away.
There's
that on the
lots of
taxes they have to
celebrity
pay.
cases of this.
Happens
And a character like
constantly.
Rocky, it's like, I can see that
Yeah,
happening.
he's a dumb guy.
Yeah, that
He
could happen to
probably-
Rocky, that's for sure.
Even just his manager actually just stealing all the money, and then the manager wasn't paying the taxes, and then
It'd be funny
like
if
because
Paulie
that
just stole the
happens
money.
too. Like people
Paulie
just
gets
steal
in
the
bad
money.
with a loan shark or
Yeah.
something, and he steals all of Rocky's money to pay off.
Why
the debt.
not? Paulie does all sorts of douchebag things. Just have him do that.
They could have had the exact.
Ruins Rocky's
They could have had
life.
the exact same scene where they're screaming at Paulie for signing away their power of attorney. It could have been the same scene, except they're screaming at him for stealing their money. But for some reason, they had to do this weird power of attorney plotline. As soon as I say power of attorney, you're like, Rocky, what? like what's this? What's this going on here? Do you guys remember that scene in Forrest Gump? With the capital gains tax scene. Like, do you guys remember that scene? And it's like there's something thematically. It just doesn't fit to even say the word in the movie.
For the longest time, like I had only seen Rocky 1 and maybe like inklings of the other ones, like here and there. Like everyone knows he fights Mr. T and communism and all that. But I never really seen fully the other ones. I'd just seen Rocky 1 for the longest time until we did this New Year's Rocky marathon. But I always thought when just watching the first one, and I think it's what never drove me to want to actually go ahead and watch the sequels, was that you watch Rocky 1 and it's a classic example, much like Rambo, I've talked in the past, of a movie that should never have any sequels. The whole idea is that he just, as we said, he just wanted to go the distance. He didn't really want to be the champ or whatever. So by Rocky 2, when he's fighting to be the champ, it's like you've already kind of undermined the whole theme of the first one. Like that movie, Rocky 1, is a very singular story. It's a guy who just wanted to prove that he's not a loser and go the distance, and he does. So by him succeeding in going the distance, end of story. There's no more to explore. Seeing him become the champ, become washed up, fight communism. It's so stupid. It undermines it. It's
such great sequels as Cinderella 2, Little Red Riding.
Oh boy. Well, an example I brought up in the past. I'm not going to speak too much about it because I did speak half hour or so on a previous episode about Rambo. Like Rambo is probably still more egregious of a sequel because how much do you know about Rambo?
I've seen them both.
There's
I've
three
seen
of them.
all 4.
Oh yeah, there's 4 if you include that.
Yeah. I don't remember the difference between the first one and the second one. I think it's the first one is filmed around here.
It was filmed in Hope, yeah.
Really
close to where we are.
he's just like a drifter that comes into town. They treat him like shit.
Well, so the whole thing is that he's a Vietnam vet who's also like
the
homeless.
second one I don't remember the
He has
premise.
PTSD, like he's very disturbed
It's
from his
meant
background.
to be this
And-
commentary on how soldiers come back from the war and then they're treated like
especially
crap when they get back.
especially
Especially
in
the
that,
Vietnam War.
especially in that war.
All these fucking
And
hippies.
like at the end of Rambo, it's the first one's called First Blood. It's not even called Rambo. He has this breakdown and how he's just so tortured from seeing his friends get killed, and he comes back home and everyone hates him, and he's just the scum of the earth here.
Yeah.
Like Rambo's not a hero in that. Like he's a disturbed,
He's a victim.
broken. He's a
Yeah.
tragic. He's a tragic character by like textbook tragic character definition. And then in the sequel, he's like, it's just like him, like this action badass gunning people down, and like just so much explosions. And it's such an insult to the first one that I love it because it's just so like this is a slap in the face. I talked about this at length on a previous episode, but I wanted to bring it up again because it's so hilarious. Rocky doesn't undermine it that hard because it's like, okay, you still are seeing that Rocky's still a guy who goes the distance. It doesn't change the character like Rambo does. Like Rambo goes from PTSD, like tragic, like mentally destroyed human to gunning down all these people in a fiery, glorious blaze. This amazing "I Love America" speech at the end of it. It's so awesome.
It's so weird, man.
It's so fucking great.
Dude, I fucking hate hippies
So The
so
Rock-
much. Right? Thanks for reminding me about how much I hate hippies here.
Watch Rambo 2.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
Oh, does he gun down some hippies?
No, but it is like just Love America. So,
Right.
like in the cheesiest, funniest of ways. But yeah, so the Rocky sequels aren't that insulting. I almost wish they were because it would be funnier. They're just so like my whole thing with the Rocky franchise is like even though there's a lot of fun sprinkled throughout, all the sequels are just so uninspired and have they have no reason to exist at all.
They undermine the spirit of Rocky.
Which one has
Well, they
the
undermine
robot?
and I think that starts in Rocky 4.
They undermine and they cheapen the spirit.
They
of
just
Rocky,
beat
which
it,
is usually what
they
sequels
just
do.
beat it to the ground because they just strip it down to the basics of he's going the distance again, and then you're Rocky 2, he's going again.
But they're just
Rocky
describing
3,
every movie
he's gotta
by
go
that
the
point.
distance.
It's like every movie they're going the distance
But
because the hero's always fighting
But
the
everyone,
protagonist.
but it focuses on so much. Like there's a montage that tries to mimic the first like training montage in every single one of them. Like it's the same like beat points. It just becomes a villain of the week
My
movie.
friend said that her dad would pop in the DVD for a Rocky movie, go to the montage scene, watch the montage, pop in the next, and he would watch all the montage scenes.
Dude,
only.
they were I don't know what happened. I noticed this like in Rocky 2 and just from beyond. Like they just started putting like because so the idea of a montage is I know that we've talked about this before, but you have a bunch of information like someone training for 6 months, and you're like, well, we don't want to make a half an hour thing of them training because like it's just they trained and now they're trained. So let's stuff it into this 30-second or 60-second montage that'll show clips of them training.
Snappy editing.
There's music playing, dun, 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 and he does it, and he goes through the training period or whatever it is, and it's a way to speed that up. Typically they're not actually super fun. Like they're just all right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people are cleaning a house or whatever. It's like, okay, well, we want to show all the things they did, but we want to show it quickly. Cleaning a house isn't super fun, but maybe we could have put a snappy song on and a few little gags where they get water on their face or something. And then,
everyone's having a good time.
Yeah, everyone's having a good time. And, it can really liven it up. But by the time you get to Rocky 2 and 3 and like all these
this
other
franchise does not benefit from marathon.
like they have
because you see these same like the rhythms and plot points just repeat like so formulaic. It feels like a Michael Bay.
One of these movies had 3 or 4 training montages,
Yeah.
and they were they weren't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Rocky, trains, does his montage, goes and does a fight, and it's like, oh, you're not good enough. You need to try this different training style, and then it's like a montage of him trying something else. It's like he does a montage, and then they just have a random scene, and then it's like another training montage, and it's like the purpose of the montage was to shorten this thing, but you've just lengthened it back to the original length by just stuffing more montages for a half an hour. So it's like, it gets really bizarre where I'm just thinking, are they just padding the running time? Why are they putting so many? Is it just because people like these montages?
That's all of what the sequels are beyond the montages. They're all just padding the running time.
Of the first movie.
Of the first one. Exactly. Like my whole point being is that the whole heart of the premise of Rocky, of him going, not necessarily wanting to win, but just go the distance, prove he's not.
He wanted to make something of himself, do anything good with his life.
The idea of exploring further than that, seeing what he could become, it already contradicts the heart of the story, like the heart of it. Like, because like, it doesn't really matter how much success he goes on to have. It's just that he proved he could go the distance. That's the heart of the story. And by showing, it's like, well, look, he became champ.
Yeah,
he inspired all
Rocky
these
went
people.
on to become an astronaut.
He went over to Russia. It's like, none of that is really important to the heart of Rocky. So it really contradicts
it. It completely undermines
just exploring Rocky more. It undermines and contradicts it.
The message of Rocky is that even if you are a piece of shit, if you persevere, you can do something with your life. And also, you should be as good as an astronaut, and you should save the whole country and be like, it's about the idea that he's not a traditional hero type, and he's an everyman sort of hero. And then they just moved on to, no, actually, he's just like every other type of superhero who could do things you could never do. You fight communism with one hand behind your back. Like it's just.
It's also like I said, marathoning this franchise doesn't highlight what's great about these movies, like the good movies, because you end up seeing the same things. It's like, look,
they literally played a fight from the end of the last one. At the beginning.
Every movie starts out with the 10 minutes of the last fight from the movie before. Every single movie. It was so weird, especially having just watched that.
But yeah, it's like, look, I got it. Rocky can go the distance. Do I need to see this 5 more times?
Well,
him just go, here it goes again. Still going the distance.
It's an obscure
They're
art.
just beating it to the ground.
It's an art meta statement about whether you can go the distance and watch all of them in a row.
We
Can
didn't
you
know.
be like Rocky?
I could not.
We have discovered the underlying message of Rocky, the hidden message
Yeah.
of Rocky by marathoning it as much
Cut
as
your
we
losses.
could. So
Walk away.
there's a great scene in Rocky 1 that has all of these a cappella singers are sitting around.
Oh
a
yeah,
bear-
the real gangsters.
Yeah, they're all just on a street corner
Next to a dumpster.
is it
fire.
Manhattan?
Next to
Where
a-
are they? Are they in New York or something?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, yeah, and they're just sitting around this barrel that's on fire, like one of those barrel fires that are on
Yeah.
the corner.
Seems
Super
like a
cool.
normal
I-
thing.
And they're all just snapping their fingers like
Yeah.
they're a bunch of jets or
Yeah.
sharks.
I don't know why, but I really at some point want to hang out around a flaming barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't want to be a homeless person, but this is something that looks real cool about
It's
hanging
wild.
out around.
I
a
always had one
flaming
growing
barrel.
up.
Fire in the city.
We had a flaming barrel all the time.
Oh, you're just trying to brag.
Yeah.
Get out of
Just
here.
trying-
It's because of my dad is a mechanic, so we always had those barrels.
My
and
dad
then
was
we'd light 'em-
homeless.
Yeah. We always had those barrels, and we'd light them up, poke some holes in the side, and you got
Nah,
a
it's
barrel
got to be
flame.
grosser than that. It's got to be like flaming garbage.
Well, the
Flaming
barrel
body.
loses all its paint and turns rusty after a while, so
Yeah.
that's pretty.
Yeah,
neat.
that is-
You,
that's
you
pretty
take like a pickaxe and you just hit a bunch of holes into
Yeah.
the side, so it's pretty close. But it was mechanical garbage, so oil and
That's
things like
pretty
that.
cool.
It was just
Depending on how much you breathe in.
You
gotta
really-
breathe in enough for it to be cool.
You really need a barrel full of oil, like half full, and it's just on fire, like it's Donkey Kong Country or something.
Kick
like
it
that.
over and roll it.
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, and a bunch of fire spills out. Yeah, no, I could go back to a barrel fire. Right now, we got a washing machine fire. So you take out the insert of the washing machine that's got holes, and then you plop it down and fill it. You
This
rip it out of the
doesn't sound
washing
as
machine.
I was picturing him turning a washing machine on with no water but a fire.
But gasoline, you put in the
It's
soap dispenser a bunch of
yeah.
gasoline, and then it just starts spitting
Spits
out
itself.
gas. That sounds pretty cool. We should try that sometime. I did do it with a toilet one time.
Hey, Dad, I got to borrow your washing machine.
Yeah. Oh man, I just got rid of my dryer today. I should have kept it. We could have lit it
I
on
know.
fire. Oh, I let the Home Depot guys take it away. What was I thinking?
They're probably lighting it on fire right now.
Right now.
Damn
Oh,
it.
they probably are.
They're like,
this
"Oh,
is
they're-
the
They're
worst."
walking away with this idiot.
This idiot, he doesn't know what he just gave away. He thinks they paid us to take this thing away.
On a Saturday, too. We have the whole evening to light this thing on fire. Moron.
No, but I did light a toilet on fire one time. We filled up the bowl, not the bowl, the top portion of the
tank?
the tank.
Yeah,
And we filled that with gas and lit it, and then flushed it, and it flushed fire down into it.
Then it exploded.
Yeah, it actually did explode because
Yeah,
turns
there's
out
a
ceramic
tank full of
doesn't
gas.
actually do that well with heat, or at least a toilet. So the whole toilet just cracked in half and spilled fire out onto the lawn. It's pretty awesome, actually.
My parents were pissed.
I'm sure people would be pretty upset. So the other thing I got to mention about Rocky was how awesome it was that he was always running around in this leather jacket.
That's cool.
Do you remember this?
Leather
Like-
jackets are pretty timeless.
Like he would go for jogs in a leather jacket. Like it was clear it was not jogging attire at all. It was like this big leather jacket, and he's just jogging down the road with his hands in his pockets. He's training. What are you doing wearing a leather jacket while you're training?
heavy ass jacket.
It's pretty cool. So he also has a scene where, he always has a scene where, because Paulie works at the meat factory,
Yeah.
so he does his training by punching pig carcasses and stuff that are hanging, in the traditional meat hanging area or whatever. They got a cow or a pig, and he's just punching them.
Yeah.
And then so they're doing an interview for TV, and they got all these quotes of Rocky talking about. He goes, "I come in, I beat the meat here, and then do other fighters beat meat?" And the lady
Is it
asks them.
really?
They just keep talking. I think it was sorry, I did the accent wrong, but I think it was the news broadcaster, and she's interviewing him. She goes, "Oh, do other fighters go and beat meat here?" And
They
they had
a bunch of meat beating jokes. I don't remember.
No, it's
yeah,
just,
they had a bunch of meat.
I don't
eating
think it
jokes.
was intended as
They
that.
were
I think it's
intentional
just,
jokes.
it's just that Rocky he
I
talks
just got
like a
a
dumb
dirty
guy.
mind.
He's like this just dumb Philly guy.
And then his
That's the whole point.
his trainer says to him at one point, he goes, "You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder."
That's a good
That's a
one.
great
It's like,
line.
that's some pretty cool guy quotes from this one. So, yeah. So, we guys got a boomer here.
I believe Snitchard, you said you wanted.
Well,
to-
yeah, it was
you
just the
said you-
T-shirt thing that
how
we were
much you
talking
hate
about
me.
earlier.
That was your boomer thing.
Fucking how
That's
they
the
keep
one you
bringing it. I
planned
think I have
out?
a different one.
Oh, man, I really ruined that for you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you really
Richard.
Yeah, it was just.
I mean, I got
they'll
lots of
go
backup
somewhere, buy like some sort of knickknack or T-shirt. from the
You're
place they
behind. That
went.
was like 20 episodes
Yeah,
ago.
you're behind.
Like, have you ever noticed? I'm
Universal
going to hijack this. This is a disaster. Have you ever noticed that they all
Baby
wear?
boomers are shit of the week.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
They all wear the same basic, like 90s neon raincoat, like rain or winter coat,
Oh man, I gotta look for what.
like a windbreaker style coat, but it's really puffy, and it's always like a pink and not quite a neon green, but like a teal green.
It was the winter jacket they got when they were 22.
I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about, but I don't see them wear this.
Oh, I see it all the time.
I mean,
I
my
got
grandpa
it.
wore this sort of stuff, like these kinds of
I
jackets.
see it all. the
They're just
time.
really ratty, and they're windbreakers, but they're like wrinkly almost. Like they're
Yeah.
embedded in a
But
billion
it's
folds of wrinkles
the
that
bright-
never come out.
these like bright like early 90s colors
Sure,
are
they
a
got
big,
old
a
jackets.
big part of it. It's like what you would have worn when you were like, I guess when I was, like not even 10, like 8 years old or something.
Right.
They're still wearing that style. of
I've never
jacket,
seen it.
and it's just worn down. Like you can tell they've been wearing it for like 25 years.
I don't see it anymore.
I gotta ask you guys if you've had this happen to you. So with baby boomers, you ever get where you're in the front seat and they need to make a turn and they ask you if the road is clear?
You're in the front seat. They ask
ask
you if the road is clear.
Have you ever had that? Your dad ever be like, "Is it clear?" You're
done
so
this.
scared about
I have
I've
I have asked my
You
passengers
shouldn't
if
be
the road
asking
is
people.
I've
well, they're in the
had this
way.
happen, but it's not been exclusive at all to baby boomers.
Yeah,
It's a
they're in the
terrible
way.
thing to do. You should be driving.
I mean, I guess you're still gonna look, but you just ask for some reason.
Don't. You shouldn't be
I guess
asking.
my point being with this windbreaker thing is I think you get to a certain age and what you wear starts to become completely utility. It's like this is just like it's serving a function.
Yeah,
I don't
do that
even
now.
care if this looks good or not. But I feel like baby boomers aren't quite old enough to be doing that yet.
But they still think it looks kind of good.
Yeah, maybe.
They're like, oh yeah, I'm dressing it,
Look at
please.
this neon.
Yeah, terrible,
Never seen it.
terrible.
Well,
Well, you'll see it. You'll see it now.
just one more reason why baby boomers are shit of the week. And I will be back next week being like, oh Andy, I saw all these baby boomers. I was never paying attention.
It's the right
before."
season for it too.
I don't have much more to say about Rocky.
I mean, I like funny. Like,
I got the
side
theme.
notes.
There's there's a few random scenes that are kind of funny, and
Have you ever did you ever notice how much the franchise seems to really like to torture Rocky? Not just him getting like punched in the face or anything, 'cause he's a boxer. That's-
yeah, he
that's
gets beat up all the
but
time.
throughout the franchise, basically everyone around him that he loves dies. Every single
I
fucking
don't even.
person.
Does it choose turtles die?
Yeah,
Probably they're turtles. They don't live long.
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
the
he
turtles
said
do
that.
live long, but anyway.
They live longer than they should have lived.
Yeah.
That would have made sense for how long his life was.
So Mick dies because he gets bullied by Clubber Lang.
Oh, yeah,
what a
Mr. T.
dad.
He
Mr. T
trash,
bullies him.
trash talks him to death.
It sounds way better than it is.
It does. So that's another thing I want to talk about.
Because that sounds hilarious.
It sounds awesome, but it's not near that awesome. By Rocky Balboa, Rocky 6, somewhere between Rocky 5 and 6, Adrian dies, his beloved wife. I haven't not seen it, but by Creed, Paulie's dead. And in Rocky 4, Apollo Creed has died. Like just everyone around him is dead. And
Apollo Creed gets beaten up by the Russian, right?
yeah, Ivan
Yeah,
Drago kills him.
Yeah, we had a huge argument
Yeah, because he
about
punched
this.
him after the bell.
Yeah.
Well, because it was shoddily edited. I mean, we revisited that scene.
Anyways.
So I find it funny, like in Rocky Balboa, Rocky 6, it opens with him visiting the grave of Adrian. And I was reading just a little bit about Creed, because I haven't seen the Creed 1 or 2 movies. But apparently, I think it opens with him visiting Paulie's grave, which is now right beside Adrian's grave. And I just thought, like, wouldn't it be great if now on from every single Rocky sequel just started with him looking at an ever-increasing graveyard of everyone around him? It's like Paulie's there now, Adrian, the Turtles have a graveyard.
It's like that
Just this
Spaceball
giant
scene where
one.
the Empire ship just keeps going and going.
We'll
and
be
going.
on like Rocky 30, and it'll just be an entire massive graveyard of everyone that he loves.
Oh, you win some, you lose some. See you later,
And he's still
Adrian.
taking it like a champ.
He puts some roses on each person's grave. He says some like weird, witty platitude
Yeah.
or whatever, which I know is an oxymoron. But
It's just like the producers are so like desperate to keep him at the bottom. They're like, Well, who can we kill next? I guess we'll kill Paulie. We still have his turtles. We could kill those.
In the next movie, Rocky's
Everyone around
Rocky's
him
life
is dead.
finally gets better because Paulie's dead, and he's actually been the one causing all the misfortune in his life
Paulie's
forever.
a weird fucker.
Yeah, we should talk about Paulie, I suppose. I thought I had nothing else, but Paulie's a
Good
real
guy.
important
Paulie's
guy to
a
talk
bad guy.
about.
Paulie is a fascinating character. I don't understand his role in this franchise.
He's exactly
at all. I understand his role in the first movie, of course.
He's exactly who his name sounds like he is.
Yeah, just
Paulie. What kind of a guy do you imagine? Yeah, a douchebag is what you imagine when you imagine
So-
Paulie. And a cool guy, but mostly.
it is just all over with how the franchise treats him, like where he belongs in Rocky's life. Like the first one, it makes perfect sense. Rocky's a loser. Paulie is a huge loser, like and a douchebag, a jerk, or whatever. Like just kind of piece of shit dude, and it's all Rocky has for a friend. And then other times, like they talk to him like he's like a real beloved member of the family, but there's no arc there to justify it. Like Paulie continually throughout the whole franchise is constantly being a huge piece of shit. Like,
Yeah, he's never like he gets a better set of clothes at one point because he takes Rocky's money
And then you
buys
think,
some
oh, okay,
clothes.
maybe he had a bit of a turning point after Rocky's success, and he marries his sister, maybe turned around, but then he continues to do piece of shit stuff, and they continue to keep him around like he's just constantly being a fucking asshole.
It kind of is one of the redeeming qualities of this because it actually is hilarious.
It is.
The whole
It's
series.
like you already talked about how Rocky won. Like Rocky comes over to pick Adrian up for a date. Of course, Adrian lives with Paulie, and then like Paulie wants her out of the house, and she's like, "No, I'm cooking this turkey." And he just grabs the turkey, like this turkey that she's been like she's been very
slaving over all day.
yeah. Make something
It was
for
an
him for
oddly
Thanksgiving.
tiny turkey, by the way. Like it was basically a large chicken. It was
Yeah, I
not
guess so.
like a turkey. Like turkeys are hefty, man.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, she's trying to make a nice dinner for them. She just throws it out the window. Like, get out of here! Just, like complete, like verbally abusive piece of shit constantly, and it makes a lot of sense and it works in Rocky 1 because Rocky 1, like Rocky moving on from having just a friendship with Paulie to an actual full-fledged relationship with Adrian, same family. It's beautifully symbolic of Rocky moving on from being a loser and making something of himself. He's, I'm going to ditch this loser Paulie guy. I'm going to try to pursue something with Adrian. And Adrian, you can actually make a comfortable life for himself, do something with his life. It's beautifully symbolic of that. But then they just keep Paulie around. Like in number 2, when Adrian's pregnant, like, and she doesn't want Rocky to fight because, fighting's not really good for you. So he just starts yelling at her, and she goes into like forced labor, and it results in her falling into a coma. It's just and there's no, like, you expect the next scene to be Rocky walking in and punching Paulie right in the mouth, but he doesn't. He keeps him around. He's like, my stepbrother.
goes to go.
And then, like, there's several times in the franchise that Paulie gets super pissed at once Rocky continues to get more and more successful. Paulie gets super pissed at him for like leaving him behind, and then despite the fact that Rocky on multiple occasions says, "You know what? Go ahead, take the Rocky name and make some money out of it. Make T-shirts or whatever." And
he just gives Paulie a pretty great gift
That's
in like
huge.
giving him rights
It's like,
to his very
just
famous
monetize
name.
my name. Go at it. I don't care.
Yeah, Paulie does basically nothing.
And Paulie several times like, "You're leaving me behind." And it's like, what the dude? He just gave you a fucking free meal ticket here. That's massive.
It's your golden goose, boy.
And then, as we talked about, he just idiotically signs over Rocky's
like an
power of
accountant or a
attorney
lawyer or some
to
crap.
some accountant who then loses everything for Rocky. And they still keep this asshole around. He's such a bizarre character. Like, I think he just became something of a character in the first one, a known
Right.
character. Like, well, we got to have Paulie.
We gotta get because
Gotta have Paulie in
they
there.
gotta sell those Paulie dolls action figures. You got your Italian Stallion action figure and your Paulie action figure. hey, if this was 2001, we could have a fighting game, a Rocky fighting game where you get to play as Paulie in the ring against the Russian.
Him in the franchise makes no sense at all. He makes perfect sense in the first one. Like I said, it's a transition. Rocky's moving on from his life, being a loser, hanging out with Paulie.
Paulie's the first person you want to fucking drop as soon as you're successful.
Yeah. It's just a complete. He's
the exact.
He proves himself to be a continuous burden on Rocky.
So Muller, you spoke too soon. There is a Rocky video game.
Oh, is it for the PS2? And,
yes, it is.
Is it released the same year as the Fight Club PS2 video game?
Mr. T, probably. Yeah.
Well, honestly, it makes way more sense that there's a Rocky video game than a Fight Club video game. It's like it actually is about fighting.
And there's a lot of fighter characters throughout the Rocky franchise.
Sure.
So it just seems like, I mean, we talk about movie sequels being a problem, and it seems like the mistake that they all make is they fail to, like, what they need to do is they need to grab what the first movie is, distill it down to its basic themes. It's like, what's the basic message? And then make a new movie that either shows that message or improves upon that message in some way. Like that's like, but they seem to be completely unable to distill a movie down to the parts that made it work and then include those parts.
They just latched on to the going the distance thing so hard.
Yeah, it's like,
then they just like, well, let's just go the distance over and over and over.
It's like the person who wrote the script for the sequel only looked at the marketing of the movie and what people liked about it, and then wrote a new movie based on that, and they didn't really watch it or analyze it or even know.
They just watched like a highlight video.
The highlight
iconic moments. He's beating the bag of meat instead of the big cow instead of a punching bag. He's running up the stairs. He's going, Adrian, like, and that's it. We'll just let's make that again.
Yes.
My thoughts on it are, and we've discussed this in a couple different variations in the past before. Like, if you don't have, it's not often that you have a good reason to make a sequel of a movie. Most of the time, it's just, well, we made a lot of money on this one, so let's make another one. And that's often why the sequels are almost never as good. It's very rare that sequels are better, and most of the time they're bad. Most of the time they're bad. Very rare that they're better. But in my opinion, if you're gonna do an uninspired sequel, we've talked about this thing. We talked about this with the Purge movies and whatever. It's like just go full cheese with it.
Yeah, I mean the idea with the Rocky fighting communism.
Awesome! I was so excited for it, and it was a letdown.
It was a real dull movie.
Yeah, but you read about it, and you're like, yeah, Rocky's gonna fight communism for America. Yeah, that's full cheese. But then it's just kind of dull. You're like, oh, this wasn't fun enough.
It was super dull.
Yeah, and like.
I did like the scenes with Ivan Drago, the Russian fighter, where
he's punching a computer.
Yeah, every time he's training, he's always got some advanced training, and he's got like 10 scientists around him with clipboards, like just writing.
I wanted more of that. Yeah, that's only like in grand total, like probably 37 seconds of the whole movie, and it should have been like 10 minutes.
Yes,
like minimum. The franchise, it attempts to go cheese. Like, all of these things sound super cheesy. You got Mr. T, he's fighting communism. You got Tommy Gunn. Like, it's all so cheesy. Like, but it never, like, he has a fucking robot butler at one point.
Oh,
how did they not go full cheese with that?
It had no point either.
No point. It was like a weird gag. That's awesome. It's like a gag without a punchline.
It must have got edited out. Something must have got edited out.
So
I don't know. It's like they have the base of going full cheese with these uninspired sequels, but it never quite hits home enough. It almost does with Rocky IV. It's real close. You look at that shot of like Ivan Drago after he like knocks Apollo Creed out, and Apollo Creed's dead, and he just looks over. If he dies, he dies. And it's like, that's great. I want to see more cheese moments like that. That dead look on his cold Russian face, like doesn't give a fuck. More moments like that.
So Rocky Balboa.
And I'm not done with the inspired sequels.
Oh my god!
I want this formula. People need to know the formula of the inspired sequels. And Rocky hits all the beats, but he doesn't. There's a couple key things he doesn't do.
You keep talking. I'm going to go to the 7-Eleven and get some sustenance.
Rocky needs. Fuck these stupid Creed movies. I haven't seen them. I think they're supposed to actually be pretty good. I don't care about whatever Creed's son. Who gives a fuck? I want to see Rocky in space. I've heard this opinion about lots of other franchises before, and I don't care. No,
Rocky's been in the big city.
Rocky's done enough of that.
Rocky goes to the country.
Yeah, Rocky goes to the country.
Basically what Rocky 4 is, because she's like in some shed.
Oh yeah, he's like in some.
I know, he doesn't do that exactly, but he does enough things to make up for not going to college or going to camp or going to the big city. But he doesn't do anything near going to space, and that's I want to see it. There's an alien threat, and that in order to stop it, they have to take. It's like a Ghostbusters scenario where you got to take down the champion or whatever. And that they have some alien that he has to box on the moon.
Okay, boxing on the moon.
You wouldn't watch that? Fuck you.
You'd
watch the shit out of that movie. And then the other thing, you always end when a franchise is completely dead, out of ideas, you throw them over to Predator. Rocky versus Predator. That's what I want to see. I mean, you could combine the two. Rocky has to go to space and have a boxing match with Predator.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Uninspired sequels. They just need to. It's not that you shouldn't do uninspired sequels. It's that you should know how to have fun with them.
Yeah, they tried. That's where I think the Robot Butler comes in. Is they were trying to go in that direction, but somebody must have pulled back and said, "That's not what Rocky is."
They're trying to do it when he was fighting communism, but they started. It starts out as like a fun thing, like, oh, he'll have a Robot Butler. Oh, he'll fight communism. But then they start to take it too seriously again, and it's like, well, let's get to the training montage. Show Rocky's a serious guy and he's ready to go the distance. Like, no. I want it to be like the government coming to be like, look, Rocky.
Yeah, we need you to win. Yeah.
Someone bet all of America's economy on against Ivan Drago. You have to beat him. Like,
just raise the stakes so high.
Cheese that. Just crank that cheese dial and break it and snap it off and throw it away.
TV to watch.
They don't do it. They never. It just ends up kind of.
Well, there's always Rocky 8 or whatever.
Yeah, there's still time. He's not dead yet, so you can still go to the moon, fight Predator. That would be a fucking movie right there. The only other thing I have to say about this movie is how great. Are you done on your goddamn phone now? You're just kicking your fucking.
I'm just counting down the minutes to get out of here. My blood sugar's low. I'm gonna faint.
I love the names in this movie. Whoever came up throughout the franchise, whoever comes up with them all. I mean, maybe it's Sylvester Stallone, but he comes up with great names. Immediately, Rocky Balboa, great name.
Great name.
Apollo Creed, that's a fucking badass name. Clubber Lang, not as good as Apollo Creed, still pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Ivan Drago.
There are good names.
Even just his trainer Mick. That one doesn't sound great, but then when you see Mick and he's got that
he's a Mick.
in his voice, he's like, yeah, that's Mick, all right. That is Mick right there. Tommy Gunn. What a lame character that was. Great fucking name though.
Barbershop
Tommy Gunn. It's great. I mean, that's
a cool name.
That's pretty much all I have on.
So Rocky Balboa.
Rocky 6
is the remake-ish.
No, it's not a remake.
Another sequel, whatever. Rocky's an old man.
Okay.
I'm already laughing because of the premise of Rocky Balboa, which is that
which is probably the best Rocky sequel.
Yeah, definitely. No, of course. It's a legitimately all right movie.
I'd say it's pretty good. It's a solid
6 out of 6.
I'd give it a 7. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of repeating the same themes. He's got to go the distance again.
But he's 60 years old this time. He has to fight like a young 30-year-old.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
You're going to have to explain the context of how fighting works because it's not obvious to a non-fighter or not someone who doesn't watch fighting.
Well, so basic premise of Rocky 6. He's like 60 years old. He just runs a restaurant named after his dead wife.
I just mean the context of being old and fighting. What does that mean? Sorry.
So there's some computer simulation thing that's showing would Rocky in his prime be like, who would win in a fight between Rocky in his prime and the new current champ? I don't remember. He didn't have as good a name. I don't remember what it was. Steve. No, that one wasn't quite as good as Apollo Creed. They tried though. And then so it generates hype. There's all this talk in the boxing community. So Rocky's going to come out of retirement to fight, just like some charity event, to actually fight like the 30-year-old in his prime.
It was so dumb.
Yeah. It's such a dumb
I don't remember the end of that movie.
He goes the distance. He loses the fight and goes. It's the exact same as Rocky 1. Only he's an old man. It's the exact same fucking movie. The whole thing that's ridiculous about it, like even if you did take a 60-year-old fighter, rewind time, take him in his prime, and make him fight the prime of the current champ. The current champ is going to be so much more advanced in technique because he's been learning, like they've been building upon like these fighting techniques for 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's just what this guy knows.
And physical health.
Like, oh yeah, for sure. That's a whole other component. But even ignoring that, like just the techniques would develop so much. Like I'm not into boxing at all, and I'm only like a little bit. Like I enjoy watching UFC when they're good fights, and I've got to understand kind of the makings of it. But yeah, like when you have like these Michael Jordan types in sports, like people consider him like the best of all time. But if you took whoever is considered the best now, he's way better than Michael Jordan was in prime. But Michael Jordan set the standard. Yeah. But if you were to pin them against each other in modern day, like the techniques have developed so much. And that's where these guys are starting. Like these guys are starting learning from this guy who set the standard. So what was the peak for Michael Jordan or Rocky is now like that's where people are starting.
Well, yeah, it's the same. It's all the progress that society has ever made in anything, architecture, all of it.
Like even in UFC, like that gets exacerbated. Like a 5-year difference between like the fighters coming up and the fighters like 5 years ago. It's already like it evolves so fast.
Well, yes, UFC is also unique because it's a young.
Yeah. League. So it is ridiculous that someone in their 60s could. Like even if you took them in their prime in their 30s, could take on the champ. And then yeah, when you talk about like someone in their health in the 60s, like he's not gonna have like his muscles are deteriorated. He's gonna have all these fucking joint problems and shit. It's an absurd concept, but they just wanted another reason to. Rocky's going the distance again
as an old man. Yeah, that was pandering to an audience for sure.
Pandering to boomers.
Yeah,
like big time. As much as Rocky 6 is a pretty good movie, it's definitely like boomer porn, basically. Them going like, yeah, I can go the distance. So we done then? You're just completely fucking.
Yeah, I'm pretty done. But there was a really great quote about dancing in Rocky Balboa where he asked that chick, he's like, "Hey, when was the last time you went dancing?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I'm trying to remember the quote because it was so funny. And I remember we were all killing ourselves over it.
Dancing,
yeah. So I'll see if I can find it. But other than that, yeah,
you just move your legs like this.
Yeah, no, it was. That's it.
That's it.
I'm done.
That's the end. You're researching.
Don't look to me for leadership on this issue.
Ending this one with a whimper here.
Not with a bang.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Richard.
Anytime. My pleasure.
Mueller, last words?
No.
Well, that's the story. So if your air conditioner goes on the fritz, or your washing machine blows up, or your video recorder conks out, before you call the repairman, turn on all the lights. Check all the closets and cupboards. Look under all the beds, because you never can tell. They might just be Polly in your house.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. All right. That's done. Whew. I need to